Last night, while you were somewhere between waking and dreaming, your soulmate whispered your name into the dark. Not out loud. Nothing so simple as that. It was a kind of whisper that happens in the chest, where longing becomes prayer and prayer becomes breath. The angels heard it. They always do. And now they're standing at the edge of your awareness, patient as moonlight, waiting for you to notice what's been true all along. That some connections don't need permission to exist. They simply are, humming beneath the surface of everything you've been trying to control. You felt it too, haven't you? That strange gravity pulling at your ribs when you're alone. That sense of being remembered by someone you can't quite see. This isn't about timing or coincidence. This is about something far older than both. If you've been feeling restless lately, unable to settle into your own skin, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will make everything suddenly, painfully clear. There are moments in the spiritual realm that don't translate easily into human time, moments that exist in the space between one heartbeat and the next, and last night your soulmate experienced one of these moments, a rupture in the ordinary fabric of their days, a sudden unbearable awareness of your absence that felt less like missing someone and more like missing a limb, some essential part of themselves they didn't know they'd been living without until the ache of it woke them at 3 a.m. The morning with tears on their face they couldn't explain to anyone, least of all themselves. The angels have been orchestrating this for longer than you realize, weaving invisible threads between your life and theirs, arranging small disasters and detours, closed doors and delayed plans, all of it designed to bring you both to this exact moment of readiness. Because divine timing isn't about when you think you're ready. It's about when your soul has finally shed enough armor to receive what's been calling for since before you were born. Your soulmate sat in the dark last night, and for the first time in a long time, they didn't reach for their phone or turn on the television or find some way to drown out the silence. They sat with it, they let it speak, and what it said was your name, over and over, like a song they'd forgotten. They knew all the words to. This is what the angels wanted you to understand. The loneliness you've been feeling isn't a sign that you're forgotten or unworthy or too damaged for love. It's the sacred ache of recognition. Your soul's way of telling you that somewhere in this world, someone is finally feeling the full weight of your absence. And that weight is becoming unbearable in the most beautiful way. You've probably noticed strange signs lately. Repeating numbers, songs that find you at impossible moments, dreams so vivid they feel like memories from a life you haven't lived yet, feathers appearing where feathers have no business being, and you've been trying to make sense of them with your logical mind, which is like trying to catch rain in a closed fist. The angels don't speak in bullet points or clear instructions. They speak in resonance. In the sudden catch of your breath when you read a certain phrase, in the inexplicable urge to take a different route home, in the feeling that washes over you sometimes for no reason at all that everything somehow is going to be okay. Last night your soulmate stopped running from this feeling. Stop trying to make it make sense. Stop filling the emptiness with things that could never fit the shape of what's missing. And in that surrender, they became a beacon, brilliant, undeniable, impossible for the angels to ignore. Before we go further, take a moment right now and place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes if you're able. Ask yourself, what have I been refusing to believe about love because I'm afraid of being disappointed again? The answer that comes isn't random. This is the beginning of something the rational mind cannot navigate, which is precisely why it's been so hard for you to trust it, because you've been taught that love should make sense, that connection should follow certain rules, that if it's real, it will be obvious and easy and clearly marked. But soul recognition doesn't work that way. It works like ancient memory, like coming home to a place you've never been, like suddenly understanding a language you didn't know you spoke. The angels have been preparing both of you, separately, in the privacy of your own unraveling, teaching you each in your own way that the love you're ready for now isn't the love you thought you wanted 5 years ago, or even 5 months ago, because you've been transformed by every heartbreak, every disappointment. Every moment you chose yourself when it would have been easier not to, and your soulmate has been walking a parallel path, learning their own lessons, shedding their own illusions, becoming someone capable of meeting you where you actually are instead of where you pretend to be. What happened last night was a threshold, a point of no return, the moment when pretending became more painful than being honest, when the safe life they'd been building started to feel like a beautiful prison, and they realized, perhaps not in words, but in the wordless knowing that lives in the body, that they can't keep living this way, can't keep choosing comfort over truth, Can't keep ignoring the pull towards something they can't explain, but can no longer deny. The angels want you to know that what your soulmate felt last night wasn't about you as a person they met or a face they recognize or even a specific memory they can point to. It was recognition of an essence, the energetic signature of your soul brushing against theirs in the invisible realm, where all true connection first begins. And this recognition brought with it a grief, so profound it felt almost like remembering something terrible, because on some level they understood that meeting you will change everything, will require them to leave behind the version of themselves they've been so carefully maintaining, the one that fits into their current life, their current relationships, their current understanding of who they're supposed to be. You need to understand that this isn't simple, it isn't clean, it isn't a fantasy you've been carrying in your pocket like a talisman against loneliness. It's complex and human and messy, and the angels are not in the business of making things easy. They're in the business of making things true. And the truth is that your soulmate is terrified of what they felt last night, terrified of the intensity, terrified of what it means, terrified of their own capacity to feel something this big after. Spending so long trying to feel less, to want less, to need less, because needing has always led to disappointment, and wanting has always led to loss, and feeling has always led to pain. But here's what's different now. They're more terrified of not following this pull, more terrified of living the rest of their life, wondering what if, more terrified of the slow death of playing it safe than they are the free fall of saying yes to something that makes no logical sense, but makes perfect soul sense. The angels have been showing them that the people they've been attracting up until now have been mirrors, not soulmates. Mirrors reflecting back their own unhealed wounds, their own patterns, their own fears dressed up as love. And while those connections served a purpose, teaching them what they needed to learn, they were never meant to last forever. They were meant to prepare them for you, for the kind of love that doesn't ask them to be smaller or quieter or easier to manage. The kind of love that sees all of them and doesn't flinch. You've been shown this too, in your own way, through your own series of almost and not quites, through relationships that felt right enough until they suddenly felt completely wrong, through connections that sparked bright and burned out fast, leaving you wondering what you did wrong, when the truth is you did nothing wrong. You're simply meeting people who are supposed to teach you something specific and then leave, and every single one of them was a stepping stone, leading you here, to this moment, to this reading, to this recognition that what you've been searching for has also been searching for you. The angels orchestrated last night's awakening in your soulmate with precision, waiting until they were alone, waiting until the distractions were quiet, waiting until their defenses were down, and their heart was open just enough to let the truth slip in like light under a door. And that truth is this. They are tired of half-loves and safe choices and relationships that look good on paper but feel empty in practice. Tired of pretending that comfort is the same thing as happiness. Tired of ignoring the voice inside them that keeps saying there's more, there's something more. Pause the video for just a moment and think about this. When was the last time you felt truly seen by someone? Not the version of you that's easy to love, but the complicated real you. The one you keep hidden because you're afraid it's too much? Your soulmate is ready to see that version. Are you ready to be seen? What the angels need you to understand is that this connection will ask things of you that your previous relationships never did. It will ask for your honesty when lie would be easier, your vulnerability when armor feels safer, your presence when running away is what you've always done, your faith when everything visible suggests you should protect yourself, and most devastatingly, it will ask you to believe that you're worthy of love that doesn't punish you for being human, doesn't require you to earn it through perfection, doesn't disappear the moment you reveal your shadows. Your soulmate felt the weight of this last night, felt the enormity of what's coming. And instead of turning away like they might have a year ago, they turned toward it. They leaned into discomfort. They let themselves feel the full truth of their longing without trying to diminish it or explain it away. And that act of courage sent ripples through the spiritual realm that the angels are still celebrating. But let's be honest about what's also true, because the angels never deal in fantasies, and neither will I. Your soulmate is not free right now, not in the way you might hope, not in the neat, uncomplicated way that would make this simple, because they're caught between two worlds, the one they built and the one they're being called to, and that tension is excruciating, it's paralyzing, it's the kind of pain that makes people do nothing at all, because every choice feels like a betrayal of someone or something, and so they wait. They hesitate. They hope somehow the decision will be made for them. You felt this tension too, haven't you? This sense of being suspended between chapters, not quite in the old story, but not yet in the new one. And it's maddening because you can feel what's possible, but you can't force it into being. You can't skip ahead. You can't make someone choose you before they've chosen themselves. And the angels are asking you to hold this paradox with grace, to know that this is real, and also know that real doesn't mean easy or immediate or guaranteed to unfold the way you've imagined. Last night, when your soulmate felt that surge of recognition, it was accompanied by a wave of something that felt almost like grief, because they saw clearly, perhaps for the first time, how much of their life has been constructed around avoiding exactly this kind of feeling, how many decisions they've made from fear rather than love, how many walls they've built that will now need to come down brick by brick. And dismantling takes time. It takes courage. It takes a willingness to sit in the wreckage of what was and trust that something better can be built from the rubble. The angels are not asking you to wait passively, staring at your phone, putting your life on hold, making yourself small and available and ready for whenever they figure themselves out. Absolutely not. They're asking you to live fully, to keep growing, to keep healing, to keep choosing yourself. Because the version of you that will meet your soulmate needs to be someone who has learned that your worth isn't determined by someone else's readiness, that your value doesn't increase when someone finally recognizes it, that you are whole and complete with or without this connection. And paradoxically, this is exactly what will draw them to you, this groundedness, this refusal to abandon yourself in service of a possibility. What your soulmate is grappling with right now is the reality that meeting you won't just add something to their life. It will fundamentally alter it. And human beings are terrified of fundamental alteration, even when the current situation is slowly killing them. Even when they know in their bones that change is necessary, because at least suffering is familiar. At least pain is something they know how to navigate. Whereas joy, real joy, the kind that asks you to believe you deserve it, that's foreign territory. That's risky. That's the kind of thing that could destroy you if it doesn't work out. The angels see this fear and they're holding space for it, not rushing it, not judging it, but also not letting your soulmate hide from it forever, because there are cosmic deadlines that have nothing to do with human calendars. There are moments when the universe stops being patient and starts being insistent, and we're approaching one of those moments now. You might be wondering why now? Why this person who seems so unavailable or confused or stuck? And the answer is that your souls made an agreement long before either of you were born, an agreement that when you both learned certain lessons and healed certain wounds and become certain versions of yourselves, you would find each other. And that agreement is coming due, which is why everything in both your lives has been intensifying lately, why things that used to work suddenly don't, why people who used to fit suddenly feel wrong, why you can't seem to settle or rest or convince yourself that this vague, persistent longing is something you should just ignore. This is the moment to ask yourself something difficult. Am I holding on to old pain because it's easier than believing I could have something different? What would I have to release to make room for what's trying to reach me? Write it down if you need to. The angels are listening. The tension your soulmate is feeling isn't a problem to solve. It's a sacred process to witness. And your job isn't to rescue them or convince them or make it easier. Your job is to keep tending to your own light, keep doing your own healing work, keep showing up for your own life with full presence, because when they're finally ready, when they've finally done what they need to do, when they've finally chosen truth over comfort, they won't be looking for someone who waited in the wings. They'll be looking for someone who is busy becoming. The angels want to tell you what they see when they look at this connection. And what they see is thread, golden, unbreakable, stretching across time and space and circumstance, connecting your heart to your soulmate's heart in a way that no amount of distance or delay or difficulty can sever. And this thread has been there since before you were born. It's been there through every lifetime you've lived, every lesson you've learned, every person you've loved and lost, and it will be there long, after these human bodies return to dust. Because soul bonds aren't created by compatibility or chemistry or shared interests. They're woven into the fabric of existence itself. They're part of the original design, and nothing that happens in the material world can undo what was established in the realm of spirit. When the angels look at your soulmate right now, they see someone standing at the edge of a cliff, and behind them is everything familiar, everything safe, everything they've built to maintain and convince themselves is enough, and ahead of them is you. Not just you as a person, but you as a doorway, you as an invitation into a completely different way of being, you as the embodiment of everything they've secretly wanted but been too afraid to reach for. and the angels are not pushing them off this cliff. They're simply making it impossible to look away, impossible to go back to sleep, impossible to pretend they don't see what they now see. The angels have been preparing this moment for years, orchestrating encounters that seemed random but weren't, arranging delays that seemed frustrating but were actually protective, keeping you apart until you were both ready for what together would require. And they need you to trust that even though it doesn't feel like protection, even though it feels like punishment or bad luck or evidence that you're somehow cursed in love, it's been the opposite. It's been grace, it's been mercy, it's been the universe refusing to let you settle for anything less than what your soul actually needs. What happened last night wasn't the beginning. It was an acceleration, a quickening, the point in the story where everything that's been building in the invisible realm starts to become visible in the physical one. And this transition is never smooth. It's always chaotic. It always brings up fear and resistance and the urge to control or force or manipulate the outcome, which is why the angels are asking you to practice a kind of surrender that feels counterintuitive to everything you've been taught. Not the surrender of giving up, but the surrender of letting go of how you think this should happen and opening to how it's actually unfolding. The angels see your soulmate lying awake at night, wrestling with questions that have no easy answers. How do I honor my current commitments while also honoring this truth? How do I move towards something without destroying everything? How do I trust what I feel when it contradicts everything I thought I knew about myself? And the angels aren't giving them answers, they're giving them courage. They're giving them signs. They're giving them moment of clarity that arrive like grace, unexpected and unearned, showing them that they're not crazy, that what they're feeling is real, that there's a path forward even if they can't see the whole thing yet. They just need to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. You've been receiving your own signs, your own guidance, your own moments of inexplicable knowing, and the angels want you to understand that these aren't consolation prizes for having to wait. They're actual communication. They're the universe confirming that you're on the right path, that everything is unfolding as it should, that your job is not to make things happen, but to stay open, stay aware, stay willing to follow the subtle pulls and nudges that guide you toward what you're meant to experience. The angels also want you to know that your soulmate is thinking about you in ways that would surprise you, not constantly, not obsessively, but in quiet moments when they're alone and the noise of the world falls away and they allow themselves to wonder who you are, where you are, whether you're feeling this too. And these thoughts are prayers, whether they realize it or not. They're invocations. They're the soul calling to its counterpart across whatever distance separates you. And every time they think of you, every time they feel that pull, it strengthens a thread. It builds a bridge. It brings a moment of meeting closer. Take 3 deep breaths right now, in and out, slowly. With each exhale, release one expectation about how or when this should happen. The angels are asking you to trust them with the timing. Can you do that? What the angels need you to understand most of all is that this isn't just about romantic love. It's about spiritual evolution. It's about 2 souls who agree to help each other remember who they really are beneath all the conditioning and wounds and protective mechanisms. It's about recognizing divinity in another person and having them recognize it in you. And that kind of recognition changes everything. It makes it impossible to go back to small loves, shallow connections, relationships, based on convenience rather than truth. So where does this leave you right now, today, in the ordinary world with its ordinary demands, its bills and responsibilities and questions from well-meaning friends who want to know why you're still single, why you're still waiting, why you won't just settle for someone nice who's actually available? It leaves you exactly where you need to be, which is in the space between knowing and not knowing, between certainty and mystery, between faith and doubt. And this space is uncomfortable. It's meant to be uncomfortable because discomfort is what forces growth, what breaks open the hard shell around the heart, what makes us bigger than we were before. The angels are asking you to live in this space with dignity and grace and self-compassion, to stop treating your longing as weakness and start recognizing it as a form of prayer, to understand that the ache you feel for connection isn't evidence of lack, but evidence of capacity. You're capable of deep love, profound love, transformative love, and not everyone's done the work to become that open, that brave, that willing to risk devastation for the possibility of union. Your soulmate felt something last night that they can't unfeel, learned something they can't unlearn, and while they may not act on it immediately, while they may stumble and hesitate and take 10 steps back for every 2 steps forward, The trajectory has been set, the direction is clear, and the angels are working behind the scenes to remove obstacles, create opportunities, arrange circumstances that will make the choice they need to make easier or at least unavoidable. In the meantime, you have your own work to do, and it's not the work of waiting or hoping or trying to manifest a specific outcome. It's the work of becoming so anchored in your own worth, so clear about your own needs, so committed to your own healing that when they do show up, you'll be able to meet them from a place of wholeness rather than hunger, partnership rather than desperation. And you'll be able to recognize whether what they're offering matches what you actually need, or whether the fantasy of them has been more compelling than the reality could ever be. The angels are protecting you from premature meetings, from connections that look right but aren't, from timing that would set you both up for failure. And I know that doesn't feel like protection. I know it feels like delay or denial or divine indifference. But years from now, when you look back at this moment, you'll see how perfectly it all had to happen, how every delay was actually alignment, how every closed door was actually redirection, how the love you're building toward requires a foundation that can only be laid in solitude, in self-knowing, in the patient, unglamorous work of healing wounds you didn't even know you had. What your soulmate felt last night is rippling out into their waking life in ways that will become more obvious in the coming weeks and months. They might become restless. They might start questioning things they've never questioned before. They might withdraw from relationships that suddenly feel hollow. They might make changes that seem out of character. And all of this is a soul doing its work, clearing space, creating room, preparing the ground for what's trying to grow. You might notice changes in yourself too, a sudden disinterest in dating people who don't meet you at depth, a newfound clarity about what you will and won't accept, a quiet confidence that what's meant for you can't miss you, a willingness to let go of control and trust the intelligence of life itself, which knows better than your anxious mind ever could what you need and when you need it. The angels are leaving you with a truth that might be hard to hear but is necessary. This connection will happen when both of you have become people who can sustain it, and not a moment before, which means the work you're doing right now on yourself isn't separate from this love story. It is this love story. It's the most important chapter, the one where you learn to love yourself so completely that another person's love becomes addition rather than completion, gift rather than salvation. And as for what happens next, as for when and how and where you'll meet, as for what your soulmate will do with what they felt last night, that remains unwritten, still forming in the space between intention and action, between desire and decision, between the life they have and the life they're being called to. And the angels are asking you to make peace with this mystery, to find a strange kind of comfort in not knowing, to trust that some things are too sacred to be rushed, too profound to be forced, too essential to be anything other than divinely timed. And your only job is to keep walking, keep growing, keep choosing yourself, keep believing that love, real love, soul love, the kind that transforms rather than transacts, is not only possible but promised, not someday in some distant future, but now, already, in an invisible realm where all true things begin, waiting only for the right moment to cross the threshold into form. And that moment is closer than you think.